Hello and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Manchester is Blue show. We have a special guest in Chris Ellis tonight talking to us. How are we doing, Chris?
Very good. Thanks. By yourself?
Yeah, really well. Chris is from the Villa Together podcast at Villa Together. Hey, you don't have put some good, not bad stuff out, pal. I even give that a follow myself to see what you're doing. Tell us a bit about the podcast.
Cheers, mate. Kind words. Yes, obviously we mainly kind of do the standard stuff post match. Post-match podcasts, also do the odd post-match preview, but I find that most of the time I'm on other people's podcasts doing previews with them, which to be honest I quite enjoy. One thing that we also do a fair bit of is kind of special guest interviews. So we've spoken to a number of ex-pros and pros, so ex-Villa players like Ian Taylor, Sean Teal, Simon Grayson, spoke to Yannick Balassi as well.
Nice.
Chatted to some, I call them celebrity fans or kind of Villa personalities. So there's been people like David Reed from Sky Sports News, who's a Villa fan, Richie Neville from Boy Band 5, Nigel Boyle, who's an actor, he's been on Line of Duty.
Hello, Nigel Boyle. Yeah, I know that name. Yeah.
He plays DI Ian Buckles on Line of Duty. To be fair, he's done a few of the interviews with us. To be honest, he's a fan of the show, a friend of the show as well. Carl Chin, he worked for BBC Radio WM. He's wrote columns in local press. He's a historian. He's written books on the Peaky Blinders. And a lot of the stuff he loves the city of Birmingham, and it's also one which I'm posting tomorrow. A guy who he works for CBS Sports in America, who's a Villa fan. So yeah, it's just something that we love doing. It's nice to kind of hear the stories about how people become Villa fans, because there's I say a lot of people have the traditional kind of brother, sister, mom, dad support the club, so they follow it, or maybe they live right by it. But then it's interesting to hear how other people became Aston Villa fans and their stories about their memories and all sorts. And to be honest, we've got a massive I say it's a backlog. It's not. It's just dates in the diary of other guests coming on. So now it's all exciting. It's all good.
It's good, isn't it? I mean, particularly I love football in general. I mean, particularly, obviously, specialist topic is City, but it's nice to hear ex-players getting interviewed by people who are fans, essentially, and watch these people play for your club. And I love doing it, because when I interview ex-players, I've got so many questions that I've been wanting to ask them since I was a lad or since I was a teenager growing up. It's like, right, well, when this happened, what actually happened with this? So it's good to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but let's not talk about our podcast now, Chris, because tomorrow night it's a big, big game for both of us, isn't it? And by the way, 6 o'clock kickoff is bonkers, isn't it? I'm glad we're not actually going to the game at 6 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, I think there'd be a bit of uproar if we were allowed in the grounds. I think it's just to get all the games on TV, isn't it? Because we're on at 6 o'clock, and then it's the West Brom 8:15, I think, possibly. So it's just trying to stick the games on, isn't it? And it's a bit rubbish.
Yeah, no, I guess it don't work. I think United are playing tomorrow night for some reason. I've got United in my head for some reason.
Is it United tomorrow? Yeah, United Fulham tomorrow. It's West Brom tonight. Yeah.
Perfect. And obviously Leeds Southampton was postponed, so there's the 2 games tomorrow. So hopefully, from my point of view, hopefully City get the big win. But I'm going to turn this over to you for a minute, because you've got 1 or 2 key players. You're 11th in the table, I think you are. You've got a couple of wins, a couple of draws, and a loss as well. What are you expecting to bring to this game tomorrow night? How you think you're going to play?
It's a tough one, because we haven't played. Really, we haven't played since New Year's Day. Obviously, we played on, what was it, the 4th of January, which is the FA Cup game, which was we mainly fielded our under 12s in that game.
Yeah, sorry.
Pretty much with so many kind of, I say, injuries, people missing through COVID, etc. It's a tough one, because whether that break has been good for the players, because obviously some of them will have, I think there was 9 players that had COVID-19. I think probably the majority of them would have been asymptomatic, so they'd have been fine. A few of them who had symptoms, depends how severe the symptoms were. So it depends whether it's been a constructive break, or it could have well have been a destructive break. It could have, because we've been on fairly decent form this season. I think the one thing that kind of us being 11th probably doesn't reflect how good we've actually been, because I think we've got three games in hand on most teams, 4 games in hand on others. We've only played 15 games, so and it is pretty tight, kind of looking up the table. I think we'll kind of go for it. I think the lads are going to be eager to get going, and what Dean Smith has instilled with the team, and he's always been like it, to be honest, is the kind of the confidence to go toe to toe with teams. Normally, being away from home, I would be a bit worried. I mean, I still am, because I suppose Man City, I think they're the second best in the league in terms of form. So there's that to worry about, and obviously Man City have got world class players in every position. But at the same time, I think we have one of the best in terms of form away from home this season. I think we've won all but 2. I think we drew 1, lost 1. And I think we've only conceded 3 away from home. So we've done pretty well. We've had good results, beating Leicester away from home. We beat Arsenal away from home. So we've done relatively well. It's just a case of whether the lads, how they react in terms of having that break, and how the kind of the COVID situation has affected them. Because obviously, not only has it been a break, but it's time away from the training ground as well. So it's not like it's a case of there's a break, but they're able to train. Any training they've done is literally running or stuff like that. At a Douglas Luiz did it at a local park, and Jack Grealish has done it on a treadmill at home. So it all depends on that, but I think it's certainly going to be an interesting game.
Is it right you've not played in 19 games? 19 days, sorry. He's not played a game in 19. Is that right?
Yeah, last league game was Man United New Year's Day.
Wow, crikey. So you've got to question the match fitness there, haven't you? Like you say, with trading and stuff like that. Anything could happen tomorrow, couldn't it? From that point of view. Have you got any injury concerns, or anyone that's not fit still for tomorrow?
I mean, there's question marks over everyone, to be honest, in terms of we don't know who's had it, who's had COVID-19,
right?
And potentially if anyone was, I don't want to say seriously, but had it more serious than others. There may have been some people that just felt a bit under the weather and might not make it. Prior to our last game, Trezeguet missed I think 4 games with a hamstring injury, and Ross Barkley as well had missed the last 7 games with a hamstring injury. Those 2, it appears they're both back in training. So as far as I'm aware, we should have a full squad available, or at the very least, probably about 90-95% of the players available. I think there's a couple of players who are kind of, on the fringes, who aren't fully fit, but most of the first team players should be fit. It just depends on the COVID situation.
So there's 2 players I want to talk to you about in the next couple of minutes. One is obviously Jack Grealish, who's contributed 12 goals in 15 league matches this season, scoring 5 and setting up 7. Obvious danger man, and every time I hear Jack Grealish's name, it's normally followed by is being pursued by X club. There's always some little caveat there, isn't there, with Jack Grealish?
Yeah.
What he can do damage to City tomorrow, can't he? What do you think of Jack and how he's coming on as a footballer?
I'll always say that technically, and I suppose the way he plays hasn't changed since we first saw him. I think back in 2015, and he kind of was coming through the team under Tim Sherwood, and we saw him thinking, who's this guy with his floppy hair and his low socks and all this kind of stuff. But, when you see a player and they've got it, with Jack Grealish, you knew he had it. You watch him, you thought, wow. And over the years, as it's gone on, it's, he's gained the match experience. He's been kicked all over the place. And he's built up a lot of muscle, particularly, top half. He's always had big thighs. And it's almost like every year, probably every 6 months, in all fairness, he's taken his game to the next level. And I think at this moment in time, he is arguably top 3 in the league, and possibly even, top 5, within the top 5 best players in Europe at the moment. When you look at statistics in terms of chances created and passes into the 18-yard box, dribbles into the 18-yard box, a lot of them he is towards the top at in the Premier League and in Europe. You know, you look at the top and you're looking at, you know, obviously Messi's up there with quite a few of them, even though his form's not been great, but quite near Messi, sometimes ahead of Messi in a few of them is Jack Grealish. He's just gone on leaps and bounds. He's adding that output has come to his game. What he was missing before, maybe a couple of years ago, was he would do all the good stuff, he'd do all the fancy stuff, but there wasn't the goals, there wasn't the assists that come into his game. But now, almost every game, he's making a big impact.
And he's got to be the danger man for tomorrow, hasn't he? There's no two ways about that. What are you doing strike force for tomorrow? Who do you think will be starting for you?
I imagine it'll be Ollie Watkins through the middle, Jack Grealish on the left, and then it depends. I imagine it probably will be. I think Bertrand Traore on the right, possibly. It depends if Ross Barkley is fit. If Barkley starts, then I think Grealish will be on the left. If Barkley doesn't start, then Grealish might drop in the middle, and then El Ghazi will come on the left because El Ghazi, he came back into the team at the start of December. He scored 5 in his last 5 games and has been one of our best players. So we've got the options there, which is good. And it's kind of not necessarily options that would weaken the team, whichever way it goes. It just makes it a bit different. Obviously, having Barkley in the side would probably make us slightly better. But all of those guys up front are playing pretty well at the moment.
Oh, he's coming into it, aren't you? So the other lad I wanted to have a chat to you about is when it's Douglas Luiz. I need to get it out there and just talk to you about Douglas. He's 22, obviously signed from City. There's that buyback clause, which is must be like a massive anchor to you to have that player for you. But how's he progressing as a player?
You know what? When we signed him start of last season, it was obvious that he was a talented player, because I think Pep was annoyed either in that summer or the previous summer, the fact that you had him and you couldn't play him because of the work permit issue. I know he'd been, he went to, was it Girona? He'd gone on loan to in La Liga and performed relatively well, had a couple of good games. He came to us and we knew he was a good player and he showed some glimpses, scored a couple of good early goals, but he struggled to get into the team. I think it was dealing with the pace of the league, and he's possibly playing more of a 6 for us than he played an 8 elsewhere, I think. But something happened, I think, whether it was kind of language barriers as well, and maybe settling in a bit more. But post lockdown, so post Project Restart last year, he was our best player by far, including Jack Grealish. He was probably the biggest reason why we stayed in the league last year, because he came back and I think you look at the 8 games we had, he must have been man of the match in easily 6 or 7 of those games. He was fantastic. He turned himself into a really, really good, solid central defensive midfielder. Interceptions were bang on. He was getting stuck in and he was making the right decisions. I think sometimes he was, because he's a classy player, he's Brazilian. He was picking up the ball and trying to play a fancy ball. He was always making the right decisions on when to dribble with the ball, when to pass, when to play long passes. He's been fantastic. And I think, as you mentioned, that anchor, in terms of the that buyback clause, it's one of them I think we all Villa fans think about. He's so good and he's such a big part of our team because he helps how defensively we build, and we build from the back going forward with him. He's a big part in our midfield linking to the defence and how we go from a defence to attack. And obviously we want to keep hold of him, and whether Pep will decide to activate that or not, I don't know. I'm sure I read that this summer window is the last chance that he has to activate that buyback clause. We'll see. It depends, what Pep wants to do. But I think at the moment he's a player that, if you're looking at, central defensive midfielders, he's up there with the best in the league.
Him and Jack Grealish must be working well together. Are they forming a bit of a partnership, do you think, or is there more to be done there?
To be honest, Jack has spent most of his time out on the left, so it's been Douglas Luiz particularly this season. We've had at the start we had a midfield of Douglas Luiz sitting with John McGinn and then Ross Barkley in front. I think he's formed a good partnership with John McGinn. Obviously, when if Jack is central, then you do see glimpses of Luiz and Grealish linking up together, because I think they know both, how good each of them are, and they know they can trust each other on the ball. So sometimes you see those, silky passes between the pair of them in tight spaces. But Douglas Luiz he's been fantastic for us, and I'd hate to see him go.
This is right. You see, I've not seen much of him. You see, I know a lot of our other admins are talking a lot about Douglas Luiz. I thought I'd ask the question. You've kind of sold me now to thinking Fernandinho's going soon. He's sort of 36, 37 Fernandinho, and for me, he's still one of the best centre defenders in the league. And it'd be nice to get, if Douglas Luiz wants to be the Fernandinho replacement, it'd be nice for him to have a season with it. But I don't want to take him away from you, because it sounds like he's doing really well for you. But I need to be selfish.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
Right, so come on, we're nearly to the end of this now. Let's have your score predictions for tomorrow.
Do you know what? It's so tough because we haven't beaten Man City since 2013. We conceded 9 league goals against City last season. Lost against them in the League Cup as well. And City have hit form. It's really tough. My heart my heart's going with maybe a 1-1 or a 2-1 to Villa, whereas my head is kind of swaying more towards something like a 3-0 Man City win. It's tough for us because we can't really go off recent form, because our last game was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I get that.
So you just don't know. You don't know how the lads are going to be, and you don't know who's going to be available and who's not going to be available. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with my head. I just think that, taking everything into consideration, the fact that we've had to close our training ground, we've had 9 players with COVID-19, haven't played for 3 weeks. Man City are on form. John Stones is being the best defender and best striker at the moment. So I'm going to go reluctantly. I'm going to say 3-0 City.
3-0 City. Who do you expect to be the danger men tomorrow for City? Who are you worried about the most?
It depends how you guys line up. Phil Foden is obviously. Since I first saw Phil Foden play, I thought he was going to be the next best thing in English football, and he probably is and probably will be. He's a talented player. Phil Foden could cause us problems, I suppose. What has he been playing off the left mainly, Foden?
To be honest, the front three sort of interchanges every 20 minutes. So he'll start off on one side and he'll swing over to the other side. Honestly, trying to predict where Pep going to play him is you've got more chance than I have, I think.
Yeah, I think Foden probably. Normally I'd say Aguero, because he always scores against us, but obviously he's out of form, isn't he? And obviously he's had injury troubles. I don't think he's been the same player over the last 12 months, has he really? So I'd have to say Foden, to be honest, and John Stones. And
you know what the frustrating thing is? I'd love to say Foden as well, but there's a good chance Pep won't start him. Pep's and that's honestly, out of the 5 or 6 admins that we've got for Manchester with Blue, only one of us has got Pep's starting lineup correct in 2 years. It's bonkers. We just can't. It's absolutely bonkers, which is. Says a lot about our strength in depth, doesn't it, for another side of the coin. But listen, pal, I'm not going to wish you good luck for obvious reasons. I just hope it's a good game, no injuries. That's the main thing.
Yep.
And I've got to say, I love Villa Park. For a personal note, I absolutely love going down to the Villa and seeing the old mansion outside. It's brilliant. I've had some fantastic away days there. I've also had some horrible away days there where I remember I used to weigh a lot. I used to weigh an awful lot. I used to be very big. And I went to the away tent and I really struggled to fit in the seats because it was so close to the seat in front of us. So I had to get a seat elsewhere. So I was that fat. So I've had some great games and some belters as well, some bad ones. But listen, lovely to talk to you, Chris. Thanks so much, pal.
Yep, nice one. Pleasure as always, mate. Speak to you soon.
Catch you later. Cheers, pal.
Cheers. Thanks, mate.
Bye.